Smile, say hello.
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 Ready to work?
Work.
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 Yes. Hey everyone, you're here with Mark Boutwell. So today I am so grateful that I took the time to clean up my garage a few days with my kids, as you can see here, because I was able to find everything I was going to need to grow this season. I found my pots, my extension cords, my water hoses. I found any fertilizer, nutrients, everything I was going to need, and I was able to create a strategy this season to really max out my gardening and my production of food. Because like we said, this whole Corona thing, the shelves are kind of staying empty. There's a lot of still panic happening. People aren't even allowed to go into grocery stores without masks. So if there was ever a time in life to ever grow your own food and max out your production and food, it'd be this year. Normally we could rely on the commercialized system, but there's definitely a hiccup in the system, and we don't know the significance of the butterfly effect, and we just don't know what's going to be happening. So if there's ever a time to grow your own food, it's definitely going to be this year. I have pretty much everything I need to be successful this season. And the only reason why I'm not going to be successful is because I don't take action. And that's one of the biggest things. I read a book a few years ago called The Art to Start. And I picked it up, and in the first page, if I remember straight, it was basically put this book down and just start. You know, if you want to keep reading it, go ahead, but the art to start is to just start. And I really love that viewpoint and consideration, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be filling up all my pots. You're going to be watching me prepare my soil, prepare my growing beds. I'm going to show you where I'm going to be extending my growing bed into my deck and putting it into pots just because of the uncertainty of possible eviction, or even because I am divorced, I'm living with my ex-wife. If things get better, I was planning to move out last month, but because everything went down, we decided to stay together in the same household for another few weeks or a month until this blows over. So I definitely don't want to leave my food here. I want to take the majority of my food, so growing pots and being sure there's going to be food here at the house after I leave is going to be important for me as well. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what it's going to be looking like. Hope you're enjoying this season of growing with perfectgardens.com. So a lot of times with pots, when you're storing them for a long time, there might be black widows or brown recluses depending on where you live. I personally have went through a lot of my stuff. Sometimes I find even praying mantis eggs in it because there's a lot of praying mantis where I live here in Colorado, just naturally in the grass. So if you are, just be careful. Make sure to shake your stuff out and make sure you don't have any bugs or any other things like that that could come out and bite you. Okay, so as you can see, I just doubled my grow bed basically. I filled up my pots. There's more than enough space, the majority of what I need. And as long as I know my environment, I can grow in pots throughout the entire season. It might need a little more watering. It might need a little bit other maintenance. But for the most part, I just doubled my grow bed and I just doubled my production. These are the types of things you want to take into consideration as you're growing your garden. How can you grow more food with what you already have? You know, how can you take something off the shelf that you aren't using and create value out of it versus trying to go buy something that we really don't need? So now I'm going to go prepare where I'm going to be growing, and I'm just going to get out the weed whacker. I'm going to get rid of all the grass. Then I'm going to cut down a little bit of trees, lay down some plastic, and then move my pots from here up to the top, and I'm going to double up my grow bed and double up my growing space. All right, guys, let's move. My mother and my father, Mark and Juanita Boutwell, are two of the people that you probably will never hear of for industrial agriculture. You might just be thinking of brands like Driscoll or Bud Annell or TNA, but a lot of people don't really think about the people that developed those corporations and how those corporations even came to be. So my father, his ideas are just incredible. You know, I've learned that there's two things. There's going faster and improving. And you could tell someone to run faster, but improving really comes through a mental thought process. You know, taking a moment to sit down and think, what can I do to make an exponential improvement? So my mom's always been the leader of people. She's always been able to herd large amounts of people. By the age of 18, she was in charge of over 2,000 people in the fields. Back in the 70s, she was hired when she was 15 years old, and thinking that she was 18, 19, and they thought she was 21, but she was really 18, in charge of close to 2,000 people. My mom was about 23, 24 years old is when she actually met my father. He just got out of Cal Poly, he was a veteran, and he graduated with master's in agriculture, and I don't know his exact degree, but immediately when he graduated from San Luis Obispo, came over to Monterey. My mom had already been working in the fields as a migrant farm worker for 7 to 10 years by this time already. And by this time, she had already had massive crews, anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people underneath her. So my mom, though, she was incredible at getting people to move faster. But she didn't, because she was so busy with busy work, she wasn't taking the time to think of the systems and processes for harvesting, packaging, and distributing lettuce. So at that time in the area, the maximum anyone could really harvest was about 1,500 pounds of mixed greens or lettuce or carrots or onions, just mixed greens basically. And my father came in and started really making improvements in the industry. And I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a bathroom. Initially, the bathroom is only 20 feet away from the crew, but as the people moved down the field still harvesting, let's say back in the day, they would leave the bathroom where it was at. That was the procedure. Once they parked the bathroom, they leave it there. But as the people keep moving, they still have to use the restroom. And so throughout the day, they have to walk further away from the bathroom, which slows the progress down. And this is just an example. They could go on for years until someone says, hey, let's move the bathroom and the water with the crew, and let's move it alongside them so throughout the day happens, they don't have to walk as far, and we can keep up with our numbers, our production numbers. A lot of times people would just say, move faster, get to the restroom, get there and get back as soon as possible. But it takes time to think about, hey, let's move the bathroom with the crew, and that's an improvement. So I know it's just a small example, but it's the same thing here. I'm always thinking about my parents and what they've taught me. Because watching them operate with that mindset over a course of 17 years, every year those improvements compounding, yields increasing, and productivity getting more proficient. They were able to take the numbers from harvesting, packaging, and distributing from 1,500 pounds an hour to close to 65,000 pounds an hour over a course of 17 years. Every single year, taking these small little improvements, these small little things that they are becoming aware of, and making sure to just not fall back into the loop of bad habits. And every single good habit only scaled up. And what you ended up seeing is this ripple effect, because these farmers will go and congregate and talk together. It's really funny. There's this small little restaurant where all the farmers still meet in Monterey. I don't want to mention it because it's kind of their little safe haven, keeping people away from like salesmen and stuff. All these farmers would meet up. And in Monterey, they grow everything from, not just Monterey, there's Monterey, Gilroy, Hollister, this little really mecca, this Mediterranean climate that allows food of all types to be grown. It was this mecca, so all these farmers would talk to me like, hey, all these improvements are happening. And then what you started seeing is all these changes starting to happen in the orchards, in the tomato industry, in the wine industry, because all these varieties of crops were being grown in that area. Even on a small scale, my own little garden, one of the things they'd always tell me is, try not to touch anything twice. So if you have a pot, move it once, have your hands on it. Don't try not to move it too many times, because every time you move it, you're wasting time. And so I just want to share that with you as you're going through. Just try to keep these things in mind as every time you touch a tool, you pick something up, you ask yourself, do I have to pick this up right now? Can I do more things with it while it's in my hand and get it closer to the end production versus finicking and move it here, move it there, move it there. Before you know it, you really haven't completed anything.
Wait! What are you buying retail for? Become a member and go direct to the manufacturer, as low as $50 a month. Learn more below.